The Chrono Odyssey closed beta is over, but we have to talk about what this was. A lot of people are wondering, what is this game? Is this just another new world? Or is this a bad copy of Black Desert? So, what's going on here? Why is everyone hating on it? So, I don't think that everyone is really hating on it, besides of the usual suspect who are making basically their money on hating on shit. But there is stuff in the gameplay we have to talk about, and we also have to talk about the technical issues. So keep in mind, this was a closed beta. I assume that the game is at least 9 months out, so the end of the year, or even maybe next year. I really hope so. Really, really hope so. And technical issues have to be considered. But there have been some problems where I have to say, come on, folks, this is like something you should have on any time, and it has to do with being an Unreal Engine 5 game, right? And so one of the things they didn't do was pre-caging the shaders. They literally just throw you into the game because the game is starting in 5 seconds. Look at this super quick boot up time. Man, we are amazing. Yeah. And then in game, you have PlayStation 1 graphics, you have stutters, and you have other issues just occurring, and that's not a good thing. That's pretty annoying and takes out the fun of the game. And no, you should always pre-cage your shaders, and there is a reason why most Unreal Engine 5 games are doing that nowadays. Or you have to optimize the hell out of UE5 to not pre-caging the shaders. But again, it's easier to do that, and I don't understand why that wasn't in the game. Another problem was there was no real upscaler in the game, besides of Tiers R, which is the worst of them all. And we had to deal with that. Another big problem was that they also didn't explain the ray tracing. So if you don't know that, Unreal Engine 5 is coming with pre-built in ray tracing. They call it Lumen. And no, it's the same thing, it's just a fancy marketing term so that they don't have to call it ray tracing. But Lumen and ray tracing is the same thing. It's just Epic's ray tracing. And what happens in a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games is when you are basically switching your shadows, lighting, or reflection to high or higher, you will activate ray tracing. And a lot of games are warning you about that, like let's say Dune Awakening. They have that in there. They explain to you, hey, if you are now switching to high, you are activating ray tracing. Or you have other UE5 games like Expedition 33, which don't even use ray tracing because smart. However, this game does none of the two. There is no warning, there is no explanation, and a lot of people were like, wait, why is my performance so shit? Like, this game doesn't even look so good because no pre-caging of the shaders, but it runs like ass. What's going on here? Well, as I said, you probably have ray tracing activated, and that kills your performance. And they really have to do something about that. But I also had issues with shadows, which are sometimes completely vanish from the game, like everything. The lighting was sometimes too bright, then it was too dark in other regions. Like, there is clearly some technical work they have to do here, and this game is a long way away from being released just with those technical issues they have. But with that said, let's talk about gameplay here. So a lot of people love to compare this game with New World, and I can totally see where people are coming from, and I don't really mind the comparison because there is a lot of New World in this game. I think there is one big difference though, and that is there is actually content here. I'm sorry, but when New World came out, like one of the biggest highlights you haven't had in this game was, well, logging wood and doing some PvP. That was the content New World started with. Yeah, sure, now it's better. No question about that. But after all those years, it better be, right? And this game is already starting with tons of content in it. And I think that's where the big difference is coming from. Another thing is that there are also some other games they are taking like some ideas from. It actually reminded me a little bit of Vanguard. Now, if you were asking what the hell is Vanguard, It's a dead game which came out over a decade ago. Nobody talks about it anymore. It doesn't matter. But it gave me some Vanguard vibes here and there. But let's talk about the gameplay. So what's in here? Well, keep in mind that we were only able to play 3 classes in the closed beta. There was the Barbarian, the Swordsman, and the Ranger. None of the classes which really mattered too much for me. I did go with the Ranger because at least you had a bow. I like bows. And also a rapier, love rapiers. So there was at least one class I could kind of relate to. And it was fun. I did enjoy the combat, but it's clear that also range fighters have a huge advantage over some of the melee fighters. And the combat feels very floaty. Like all your hits feel like there is no feedback. Like when you hit something, you don't notice it. It just goes through the enemy, and it doesn't feel great, especially for an action combat game. That's a problem, right? In a game like, let's say, World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14, it doesn't matter too much, but you can still, like, even especially in Final Fantasy 14, you still get a feedback from your attacks actually hitting the enemy. In this game, unfortunately, it does not, and it makes it very floaty. But what I liked about the content is that there's tons of stuff to do. Yes, there's a main quest. Yes, there are side quests. And then there are also dungeons, right? There are 1-player dungeons, 1-player puzzle dungeons, 3-player dungeons, and later on, apparently, they have 5-man raids. So they're definitely focusing on smaller group content, which I did enjoy and I'm interested in, but we will talk about that later. So another thing they do is quests which are hidden. So that means you can basically start them up, pick them up, and then you are on a quest line without even knowing it, which is kind of cool. But what I really enjoyed was the dynamic quests. So what are dynamic quests? Well, if you have ever played Warhammer Online, you might know what that is, because they also had like those dynamic events in certain areas. Or if you have played Rift, it's similar to those Rift events. So what can happen is that you are just walking through the world, and a world quest will pop up. So let me give you an example. You can walk through a village, and that village is under attack by monsters. Tons of people are dead, fire, blood everywhere. Quest is popping up, kill the attackers. After you have done that, the next phase starts, and it's like, yeah, stop the ritual which is going on here. And when you have done that, it's like, oh yeah, you stopped the ritual. Unfortunately, one of the demon lord thingies came through, and now you have to defeat it, and it's a boss fight. And then afterwards, you get all the loot, right? And they have tons of those dynamic quests. They even some dynamic quests which have like quest lines. So there is one dynamic quest you can find at the beginning where you have to rescue a guy, and then there is another dynamic quest where you have to rescue a frog king. Yes, a frog king. And you would do their dynamic quests over a while, and then at some point, those two will meet up, and they will go basically on an adventure together. So that means if you have missed one of the two, you cannot do that particular quest, which is coming much later in the game, which is kind of cool, but also a little bit annoying, because that means you have to do some backtracking if you have missed it. But it does animate you to go through the world. There are also tons of world bosses you can just find in like the woods or on the mountain, and you can just come together with other players to do those world bosses, and they do respawn relatively quickly, and there's always something to find. Like, the game is definitely animating you to not just follow the next quest to the next hub and do them, but actually go out there and look around, explore. I have really missed that in a lot of MMOs, because a lot of MMOs nowadays are just follow this certain line. And this game is rewarding you with tons of XP and tons of items. Speaking about XP and items, let's talk about crafting. So the developers said that you can do the whole leveling process from level 1 to 60 by just doing crafting, And then you will also be able to craft the best items in the game without having to do any of the PvE stuff. Now, is that true? Well, I cannot talk about the end game because we were limited till the first two areas of the game, which is around level 20. But I can talk about the leveling process. And yes, I have done tons of crafting, and farming resources is about the same XP as if you would kill an enemy, but then crafting the items will give you in total about the same XP as quests. And then the reward is, of course, the item you have just crafted, right? And that's pretty cool. I love that idea. I love that you can focus on it. Unfortunately, the crafting itself is pretty bland. Like it's just, oh, I want this item, click. I want this item, click. And then you wait, and then you get the item. There's no real participation coming from you besides of farming the resources. And I do think also that farming the resources takes a little bit too long at the beginning. And I'm not even talking about that you can technically, with the weakest item, farm resources which are much higher. I'm talking about you get a pickaxe, you are starting to farm stone or iron, and it takes like half a minute or 40 seconds or so before you even get like 1 or 2 iron out of it. And it's like, come on, man. I would have killed an enemy in not even half the time. Like this has to be speed up a little bit, right? So unfortunately, as fun and interesting the idea is to just level your character through crafting, it's pretty bland right now. It's not that interesting, and I would definitely love to see like a system where you can participate more, and which makes the whole thing more interesting in general. But what I also really liked is the small group content. Look, I might be socially awkward a little bit, and I've definitely reached an age where coming together with 20 or 40 people to do a raid at a certain day at a certain time, I just can't do that anymore. I'm not really interested in that anymore. So we don't really have a lot of MMOs which are actually focusing on small group content. And I think that's one of the big differences this game has to offer. Is this something everyone is interested in? Everyone will like? No. But let's be honest here, you already have enough MMOs out there which are exactly catering to that need of having quite a bit of people coming together to do some content. So actually seeing an MMO which says, yes, we are using all the MMO gameplay mechanics, but we are focusing on the smaller group content is exactly what I was looking for. So I have some hope for this game. I'm hoping that they are fixing all the technical issues because they are a major problem right now. And I'm hoping that they are sprucing up like some of the existing gameplay elements like crafting and again the feedback when it comes to the combat and so on and so forth. And now you might ask, wait, Mo, this is Chrono Odyssey. You haven't talked about the Chrono abilities yet. Yeah, because they don't really mean much. Like they are literally gameplay mechanics we have seen in other games or even other MMOs before, and they just put the chrono in front of them to align them to the whole timeline thing. But it's not that big of a deal. Like the first ability is a scanner. The second ability stuns all the enemies around you. The third ability makes you summon an enemy you have defeated before. And then the last ability allows you to basically teleport up to 10 seconds back to the point where you have been before with all your health and all your life. And if you're like, wow, I have heard about all those things in other games and other MMOs before, then yes, that's exactly what it is. So it's a gimmick. It's not something which will sell the game. So nice to have, but not really much to talk about. And I think the other things are much more important. But as I said, there is content here. If they can keep up this content up till the end game, which it looked like, um, I'm looking forward to this game when it has matured more. Like again, it's not out yet. They need their time. They should take their time. And then this game will cater to a certain audience and a certain player base in the MMO genre. Will this game be the next World of Warcraft everyone is always like looking forward to for the last 2 decades? No, no. But it is clear that they have a group of players in mind and they try to cater to those groups. And I'm definitely one of them. So I will keep you posted when we are getting more information again, and of course, more gameplay and content. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like. If you're also new to the channel, you want to see more Chrono Odyssey, or you are maybe interested in Dune, tons of Dune videos here already on the channel, and other RPGs and survivor games, you might want to consider to subscribe. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.